All right, let's jump into things. Where we are, 11:31 on 27th of Feb. So we're on Thursday. So I actually just realised the week will end out with the month ending out as well. So that'll be something interesting to sort of keep in mind for tomorrow's sessions. A lot of that with that PCE data coming out. But that's then. This is now. Look, let's start off with gold. So look, obviously I've been sort of on the short side. I've been selling through this. I closed a bunch more sort of like yesterday with this bounce. So yesterday with the video, we were sort of coming through this period down. It's going on a lower time frame. I was originally looking at, well, I covered both of them. I said, look, you can either look at the fib in two ways here. You can look at just this one straight sell down move, because obviously this one came up, took out these highs here, or drag it through this part over here. I mean, look, there's different ways you can sort of do this. It's kind of whatever you sort of find works with whatever you're trading, I find. Sometimes I look for certain just straight move like this. This regardless, sort of felt like a bit of a grind up yesterday, unable to close above that 61% coming down here. But say you were sort of dragging it from the top over here, it just kissed into the 61% and came back down. Regardless of it all, 61% we know is a very strong sort of level that the market can react to. If it's not going to get straight continuation, um, it's sort of like, it's one of those higher last levels of defense kind of fib lines and that, which has a pretty good sort of hit ratio, and they actually have a company named after it. But point being is that market sort of came up through here, obviously started to come back down, another little thing, and then this was the big move coming down through here. So as it came up through here, I think this is where we opened up yesterday, sort of pushed up ground up, and that's fine. I sold into it, sold into it, because the same sort of thing, and I'll get to why this is actually interesting at the moment, is because, like I said yesterday, you've got the pattern. So you move down, you find support, you move up, find resistance, generally previous levels of support, because remember, and this is what I said yesterday, people have been buying this, buying this, buying this. They would have tried to probably buy it here as well. Or maybe they're just holding through these periods here, thinking that this level would hold. It just chops straight through it. They're like, oh, look, you know what? That's enough for me. It's obviously shifted a little bit. It's gone through the trend. Okay, we're entering into a period where the risk is that it could go a little bit lower. And I'll get to that at the moment because it's not guaranteed, of course. But the risk is it could go lower, so people get out. And that's what gives you the second effort coming down like this. And so it's the same structure we see each time. Where this is important now is because we've just had this second leg down here. And as I sort of say with these things, there's the three outcomes that you look for with this. You find support, you find resistance. This is the all important leg, because this is the leg that's going to give you higher low, which will give you higher, and like, these are just sort of, more probabilities, higher chance of a reversal if you get a higher low, because the buyers move up from this level, they move up to this level, they're advancing, and they'll try and sort of push it up, and then the pressure's on the sellers and the line of the sellers to hold. You get a double bottom, which we do have at the moment, or you get lower low, and then that's it, continuation moving down, coming down, and you start the whole cycle again, down to a support, up to resistance, down to support, bang, 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 and it goes again. So where we're at the moment is basically double bottom. You can see it sort of popped under here, underneath 2900 twice. If I get these out of the way, you can see it's quite strong. The buying pressure to come back up here, as it was yesterday, closing shorts, come down here. I closed a bunch of shorts into this 90s area, 2890s area as well. People are buying it here, people are closing shorts, and the reaction was quite strong, sort of coming up on here as well. Not only that, we also had an announcement of potential 25% tariffs on Europe yesterday. That came out, I think it was 2 o'clock, and we can see that that's a candle. This is on a 1 hour candle. This is the candle that really got it banged straight back up and over to the side over here. So, look, it's interesting. People sort of say, why don't you just sort of put your stops and run it? This is why. Because I made money all the way through here, made a lot of money down here, made a pretty good little return down through here. You know what I mean? I had shorts from 51 to 52, so yeah, I could have sort of just whacked the stops on from here, but I shorted from 55 the day before. You know what I mean? Like I could have just put the stops on here, pretty much given away that, and yeah, you survive and do that. But there's a lot of people that would have been shorting around here, thinking they did pretty well as well, and as you can see, they get stopped out, and that's just not my style. It's too much. not too much, but it's more stress than I like to sort of deal with it. Anyway, that's regardless. So we're here to talk about the charts a little bit more. But so what you're looking at the moment is basically the buyers have stepped in here, come down here, buyers have stepped in here again. So now it sort of puts you into an idea, are we going to sort of come back up and test where the sellers are between sort of like, 30 and 22, this kind of area here. We can see it's a little bit of a rejection. It's too early in the session to really call anything here, but a little bit of a rejection from that period there. And do we sort of roll over and sort of come back down to the bottom side here? If I would probably be looking at sort of this as a little level through here as a potential little short-term reaction zone. Under this, then I think you're probably almost looking down to these wicks. So the body fill, that's where 96, that's where I had my TPs. So, the body fill there, obviously sort of went past it a couple of bucks. Well, whatever. It's better than having it sort of come back up here and not making anything on it. So, look, you've got double bottom moving up here. So double bottom isn't a double bottom till you take out the sort of bounce highs. So this would be the bounce high here with the wick, but as I've sort of found, it's better to sort of really sort of do a bit more with the bodies opposed to the wick for it all, and sort of say, look, that's part there. But look, until it goes past 30, it's still in the day, it's still in the motion of potentially rolling over, coming down like this. So the way this is work at the moment is, till it sort of bounces over here, like a ball down, bounces up, bang, down. That would be the path to sort of this sort of probably breaking down. I think you probably got a couple more touches down in this area here, but if we see bounces, this is a downside plan, but if we see the bounces come in a little bit weaker each time, that's probably signaling that, they're trying to defend it, they're trying to defend it, but sellers are just going, like, they're taking what they can. Because you got to think about the psychology behind it. It's sort of like, people were selling it up here, people were selling up here, and here's a spike up here. People said, look, this is going low, it's broken the trend. It's going here. Look, I'm getting out here because this thing's going lower, and they piled on and absolutely smashed it down. Now, it bounces back up like this. Maybe it's short covering, maybe it's people buying to try and give it another shot. Not everybody's trading this setup. This is just my setup. And, it bounces up. People go, oh, that's great. Look, I can get out of here. Boom. If they get up here and they go, oh, look, that's the best I'm going to get out of it here. Boom. You may still keep defending this line down here. But if these bounces come in lower each time, like I heard a good analogy. It's like a ball towards the edge of a table. It's like boom, 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 then falls off the edge. So that's something to keep in mind in that, because this is potentially setting up. Now that we've broken the trend, price needs to pay a little bit of a price, I feel. That's just how these things work. You don't generally break trends like this and then sort of put in new highs. It's possible. Anything's possible. And as I said, above 30, well, you could see this as a double bottom, then you look for the double bottom, and double bottom will probably give you a measured move somewhere up towards, if we go from that body fill to that body fill, this is a conservative sort of double bottom, not using the wicks. That's one of your levels here. And if you decided to take the wick, that's your double bottom there, which, as you can see, sort of would take you to technically a new all-time high. But I'm not a big fan of this one. Look, the only sort of scenario in which I could see this sort of coming up, look, I do think it's going to 3,000 plus, but I think these lower fib levels, the 23 and the 38, are probably due for a little bit of a touch-up before we get to 3,000. I think you've got to sort of just wipe the smile off a couple of the longs through these areas here, before you sort of recharge and come up here. And the point that I say this is because, as I said, once the trend lines break, I do believe the price needs to be punished a little bit. I think that's just generally how it kind of works. So let's get rid of these big ones because they're stupid. But look, a double bottom, should it break above 30, you look back up to 48. And it's possible. This thing could just turn around, flip, and go bang, up the top over here as well. But as I said, break the trend. It looks like the bounces at this point are coming in lower. If we get another touchdown into the 90s, I'll probably take some off again. But if we sort of get a bounce and sort of react basically and unable to sort of get back above, sort of 29.10 or something like this, that to me is going to be a big signal that we're potentially going lower. So I'll just put a little line here. And that's obviously a little bit in the future here. That allows for price to come down, and if it does sort of follow this path, that alert will go off, and just bring us to attention for it all. Anyway, look, so yeah, it does certainly look like it wants to go a little bit lower. Well, this is the 1 hour, which is a little bit low for these sort of things. It's good for the intraday, but it's overbought already. It does look like that little pump on the open this morning is already being sort of sold into. 4 hour doesn't look too bad. You can see a little bit more of the double bottom sort of status through here. Big wicks down here, but as we said, just covered with this thing. You want to see this if you're sort of looking for top. What happened there? If you're looking for top side moves, you want to see this really just keep charging up here above 22, 23, and then really confirmation above 30. I think that's the big thing because you can see how strong this level was through here. The sellers were even here originally. The buyers have sort of held it here. Bang, 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 bang. Held, 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 held. Rejected from the underside of it. Rejected again. Rejecting again. So I think under 12 or above 21. Or above 22. Under 12, above 22. I think they're your two levels to give yourself a little bit of a direction through this session, but I think it is looking like it wants to come down. Just lastly as well, I'll just show what it looks like on the daily because this is really sort of what it's come down to here. Let's clear this up a bit. Indecision. This is what these dojis are. It's coming down strong. It went down further again. It moves up, and so it's indecision. It's a tussle between two sides with it all and that. So look, the fact that it closed a little bit bullish gives it the idea that it could sort of move up. And as you can see, that's that level 2030 you want to get above to see this thing sort of recover back up towards the highs. But at the moment, it does look like it may want to have a little bit of a push lower. The RSI is sort of saying that look, it may be a little bit done as well. But look, if it comes down here and sort of holds into this level again, then it could sort of see that this is just a pullback base, and you could still see another drive up to up towards the 50s. So the fact that this closed a little bit bullish means that obviously there is some sort of buying interest still. I mean, obviously, look at this, it's still right at the very top, but you can see the gradient it was going up here, and now it's just real wish-washy, like people are selling down, push back up, people sell it down, push back up, people sell it down. They could still push back up again, but it is a little bit rollover-ish kind of thing. These things don't generally go like this and then just drop down like a stone, and if they do, if it comes down very fast like this, like if it's a sort of curved top, fast down, generally that'll come with another fast back up. So if you drop down really quickly, like if say we go to 2800, I think that's definitely buy time because that'll sort of shoot back up towards that thing, and that'll be a great trade through there. I'd expect a big sort of little V shape there. All right, so let's move along. We got Aussie. Aussie yesterday had let's get the stuff back on. Had CPI yesterday, and this is what I was saying. Let's go into the 1 hour. Where was it? Up to 50. Yeah, so this level here. So I was saying with the CPI, interesting play out because I said, look, regardless of what was going to happen, I had a feeling it was going to get sold into afterwards. I thought, as you can see with these, I thought we may have got a hot print, so would have sort of seen it sort of shoot up a little bit, but then be sold into. It got a flat print, and the actual response as it came out was very muted, but as you can see, got sold into afterwards anyway. So that kind of played out, but not really. I didn't take the short or anything because I thought we would get that little pump first. But when we sort of came in at 2.5, which is flat from what we had last print and below expectation, you can see that the market was buying it up in anticipation for it. So if we go back 2 days worth into this buy zone down here. This is what I was saying, because like remember, this is when gold was getting smashed, everything was getting hammered, and we were sort of looking at like Aussie was actually sort of, it dropped like 10 points at the same time. So it was actually holding very well. And then the next morning appreciated and actually took out the most recent high. And this move through here was the lead up by the rumor at the last minute, albeit by the rumor of the idea that we're going to get a hot CPI print. Comes up here, and then came in flat. Okay, bang, sold down. So this is what the market was doing. It was thinking, positioning itself for it all, pricing it in through this point. If we had got a hot print, I reckon we would have seen this shoot up here. But again, I still think overall market conditions would have seen a sell down like this. So we didn't even get the push up because we didn't get the hot CPI, and it just sold down, boom, 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 through here. So now we're down into second buy zone. That's fine. Look, we know this is going to be a strong area. And as I keep saying with these things, these buy zones aren't, buy the bottom and go to the top kind of thing. It's areas in which we reckon that the market is going to react. And it has. It reacted very strongly from these 2 times. A little bit of an effort here, but obviously, and this is the same sort of thing, little bounce, boom, and down lower. So as it came into this little buy area last night, around that sort of 63 zone, pushed up, actually moved quite well. You know what I mean? If you look at this for a bounce, that's 63 up to 34. That's 0.5% bounce. And then we had the tariff news, 2 o'clock or so. Where was it? Actually, 2 o'clock was here. Interesting. Maybe I thought the tariff, maybe I've got the time wrong. I'm not quite sure. But regardless, we had that tariff news sort of come in. And obviously, bang, everything kind of sold back down here again. Back into test it, take out the lows. A little bit of a sort of grind up through here. We also had NVIDIA earnings overnight, sorry, actually not overnight, it was actually this morning, local time. They sort of seem to have beat expectation as well. And I think that's taken a lot of pressure off, the sort of risk side of things. Let's have a quick look at NASDAQ. I think it was around this sort of period here. As you can see, a little bit of a push up. I mean, it's no rockets coming up here or anything like this, but you can see that it's a little bit, I think it was just more sort of like, okay, it's not terrible news. Well, I mean, they beat expectation, but I mean, as in terrible scenario for the market kind of thing. So that's why a little bit of alleviation. Oh, okay, not too bad. But as you can see, still quite heavy on the sell and moving into it here. So question now is it going to hold this area? Look, this was a very strong sort of resistance area. Took a long time to sort of get through this 90s area, 90s to sort of, 6308 kind of thing. So you would imagine that there'd be a fairly strong support through this area as well. It doesn't mean that supports are always going to hold, but it means it's, first of all, you're going to see a reaction, which we have seen a couple of little reactions here, and also when it does break, if it does break, the significance of what it means for it to break. So let's see if we can. Not perfect, but not too bad. So it is a little bit more of a significance if this does break. So if we do break down here, look, I think 62.50, back down to these areas is definitely on the cards. I do think that we are going to see some strong buying of US dollar over the next couple of weeks. So I do think this is a very plausible area for Aussie to come. Doesn't mean you can't have a little bit of a flare up first and then sort of be sold into, and maybe this can be a bit of a channel that we can work off. I think any sort of moves back up towards these sort of like 63.30s, 63.40s are just going to be sold into as well. All right, I'm back. Yeah, so look, it's interesting to see where we go through here. I've just had a quick note of this buying pressure here. This is only the 1 hour, of course, but the RSI here, really sitting on the 50 in that sort of as this starts to come back down here. So got 3 minutes till DXY kind of sort of comes online. So we'll see how that sort of plays out with it all. Excuse me. One quick thing to note with Aussie as well. One more sec. Okay, yeah, just make sure the headphones are actually working. So yeah, look, it's buying pressure's come in a little bit stronger here just on this last little push down. So yeah, I think there is a reason, like as I said, we're in that buy zone. We're in a long, sort of strong, kind of like support area. Should this sort of move back up above, say, this little spike high 15, I think you could be looking back up around that sort of 30. But I imagine it to sort of really just be something along this level here. Which we could sort of see. Any sort of upside moves, I think, are just going to be sold into around these 24, 25 areas. And the other side of that, obviously, if you just sort of drag this through here, some downside sort of targets on this move here. We are seeing this is the 127th of that last bounce, the 161. So downside, I would say 62.77. I think that's probably the next area. We could see a little bit of a reaction should this sort of break through this area here. So if you go through the 90, I think sort of maybe through into those 70s, which again, Aussie's fallen back into its favorite pastime. The market's fallen back into its favorite pastime, which is sell Aussie down through this sort of period here. We're seeing it's quite strong. So get these out of here for now. All right, let's keep moving on to that. So we've got DXY, so just coming online now. Interesting where it is because yeah, this is the kind of little wedge or little big wedge kind of thing I was trying to sort of see you play. I did think we still have this little move down here. As I said, we got that little spike down last night, but you can see there's a little zone setting up here, 3 touches into it where the buyers have said, hey, look, this is good for us. Kind of 4 touches as well if you include this little spike down here. But 4 touches into this area here where, buyers are certainly happy to sort of get on board with it all. So generally, this is the plan that I'm looking for, sustained buying through this area. It is poking its nose out of this falling resistance coming down here, which obviously sort of touched into and rejected from yesterday. So it'll be interesting if this continues and moves up through here. I think this is your early sign here. So bounce happening, whatever, just so we know what's happening as it does take out these highs. Because as you can see, is equally, let's get this out of the way. Put this down over here. That's still the plan, should we break down under here. I do think we are in the last leg of this move down. So potentially this could just be a little range zone through here. Spike down here. We got PCE tomorrow. This could see a little spike down into here and then a quick explosion back up. I think that'd probably be the better way. It's almost what this little candle was here. Obviously it didn't come all the way down to the bottom. But if we zoom in on this a little bit, you can see sell down and then fast reaction back out. It's like one of those sort of high heel bottoms, which we sort of talk about, which is, I never use the drawing tool thing, so I can never find it. This here, and there's the heel, and that's your high heel sort of bottom. Generally, they won't come in a range. It'll be more of a like a bottom kind of thing, like as in, this whole section would be down a little bit lower into this area over here. Hence why I sort of think that maybe we get this little sort of shoot down here and then back up. But we'll have to wait and see. As it is at the moment, it's obviously sort of a little bit buying pressure as it's sort of starting up and sort of moving up through this area here. But I do think if it does come down here, that'll be it for the DXY in this sort of sell down period. Though in saying that, this could also be it early here with these 3 lows here, 106.13, 106.10, whatever, being the level. This is the kind of thing that I'm looking for in the short term above these. Excuse me. This little zone through here, because you can see just as equally we've got buyers coming down here. We've also got sellers up over here. So I think this is just going to be the tussle through here. Coming out of this little falling resistance or big falling resistance, something certainly to keep an eye on, but it could equally just push up here and then sort of roll back over, break down here. Like with these sort of falling or angled resistance supports and these kind of things. They don't typically sort of come out in one go. They'll sort of like, sort of come out and then maybe come back and retest lower and then sort of go. They like to burn early position. People that take positions early and don't bank on the pops or um, just move their stops to even too quickly, these kind of things with it all. So yeah, certainly, look, as you can see, came back down here, fast reaction, didn't even give RSI time to get into the oversold. That's given us almost that little bit of a negative divergence kind of thing. It's not a full negative divergence because I suppose it didn't really come right down here. But at the same time, you can still see that, the selling pressure to get to this level, oversold. To get back down there, well, the selling pressure was a little bit less. It was a bit lighter. Buyers stepping up, and you can see the sort of reaction as that sort of flowed through there. So it's yeah, I would say these are your levels. With PCE tomorrow, I don't know if we're going to be getting anything anything prior to that. But should we break out of here, then I guess we've got a couple, or not I guess, we do have a couple of levels up around these 107s, 107.30, 720, these kind of areas over here, where things would sort of probably look to move towards before sort of maybe sort of just dribbling back down. But I do think over the next couple of weeks, we potentially have, high 107s to high 108s potentially to come. And of course, zoomed out through the messy chart of it all, is this bigger sort of head and shoulders potentially looking to play out. All right, and we've got silver. Silver still sort of dribbling. It's not filling anybody, not filling me with a bunch of confidence in that at this lower level down here. This is the general plan. I think potentially we're going to at some stage we're going to sort of retest these lows. It is faring a little bit better than gold, as we saw a second ago. Gold, that second drive down came for a double bottom. This is actually doing a little bit better because we're seeing a little bit of a higher low and obviously grinding up a little bit there as well. So, it's trying to sort of come back in, but as you can see, these bounces are being bang sold into each time. So you want to keep this momentum going as best you can. I think if you go underneath 106.30, that's just going to see at least a sort of wick fill down to 31. What did I say? 31.60. That'll see a wick fill down to 31.30, and that's the level that you want to hold to sort of see this thing sort of, not completely fall apart, so to speak. But this is the area in which I'm looking for down over here. I know it's a fairly big range here, 31 to 30. That's a $1 area, but this was that range that we saw previously into this area here. I mean, if we want to make it a little bit more specific, probably these sort of wicks through here. Those two little buy zones there being the low wicks, and then potentially down to 30 over here. If things drop below 30, I'd say it's pretty much, very much in trouble. But I think sort of, as you can see, its price is being punished a little bit. I think at least another leg down before we see this sort of shoot back up, if it does sort of shoot back up in this medium term. All right, and copper. Copper flew up yesterday. So we had that headline come out from Trump. I knew there had to be something to this because we got so close to my buy zone and it just took off. I mean, this candle here, this is on a 1 hour. How big was it in? Yeah, 15 minutes candle. So yeah, call it the 1 hour's decent enough to see. But you can see the reaction here, and it moved up like 4 or 5% from the lows, and that was on the idea that Trump was bring back copper and copper's going to be made in America or some crap like this. I don't know. Look, I'm a big fan of Trump and I think he's doing amazing things, but it's very hard to trade some of these things sometimes when it's just one line can just send the market crazy. And then sort of like the euphoria sort of wears off and it's like, oh, that's right. Oh, wait, it's not happening right now. Oh. It's like trading spec stocks. And, people come out with this announcement and they're like, wow, they found a mineral deposit and it's going to be worth so much money. And everyone's like, bang, they go through the roof. And then the realization goes, oh, hold on, wait, we still need to build the mine, fund the mine, go through the process and the time it takes to get everything sorted, the permits and everything, and as I said, get to the actual mining phase. Oh, okay, you're all bump. So look, should these things follow through? Wow, it is very much like you can see the reaction, and copper will strengthen up if this does happen. But that was a quick move there. So that was obviously faded straight into and pretty much back to where it started with that. So look, I don't know what to take of this at the moment. Technically, it is a breakout. It's back to its breakout level. Um, I'm a little bit reluctant to do too much. Like sellers came in previously where they had through this zone over here. So this is the level to beat. Should it sort of want to try and regain things? I think potentially. Look, I actually deleted my buys at this zone, but I might sort of put in a smaller entry at this level here just to snap out. I think anybody that got into this period here, that needs to be snapped out, which should give us a fill down at our 61%. So the buy zone, I'll reinstate and sort of put an order back in there, sort of see what we can do with that. Gold silver ratio did sort of poke its head out, multi-year highs to I think it was September 22, and it's really just sort of consolidating this little top area here. As you can see, there's a little bit of a sort of flag building here. Should this want to break, next move takes you to 93. Metals are going to get smacked if this happens, so that's one thing to keep an eye on. Let's put an alert here. Gold silver ratio breaking main. Breaking main res level second effort. Should this sort of go through here, I think certainly you wouldn't want to be long metals for that little period through there anyway. And as I said, 93 is probably the next stop. There is potential for this thing to move towards 95 should it continue and hold out. If we get the breakout here and it holds up around this 93, 95 is probably the target, which is a higher time frame. Resistance levels up over here. So there is, should this sort of break up here and go bang charging up through here, 93 is your first stop, and then sort of up towards potentially a move to 95 over the coming weeks, which would, in all fairness, probably go in line with gold coming off a little bit, even though sort of like gold silver ratio obviously makes gold the preferred sort of metal of the two, so silver will definitely come off there as well, but generally you kind of want to see gold silver ratio moving downward to see a metals bull market. As it's moving up, gold may be the preferred, but the whatever the expression is, preferred of the ugly ducklings or whatever the cutesy sort of little term is. So that's why sort of silver will outperform gold in a bull market because it's moving down like this. It's the preferred thing, and it'll fly a lot more. All right. And finally finish off with China. China's sort of broken through that little rejected from this falling resistance, and that hasn't stopped it. It's broken through. So really, we're probably looking, as I said, a little bit of a push up here towards this 728 level. I'd expect a sort of body fill on this one here, and then maybe a reaction back. If it does decide to go through, next big body fill, that's the sort of key through here. But as you can see, the sell downs are quite strong when they come. They dribble, bang, sell down, dribble, bang, dribble, dribble. So if it goes through here, it might be something to note on. But I do think, as I said the other day, that this will be a bit of just a grind. I don't imagine we're going to be going back up to the tops over here. All right, and I think that's pretty much it for the morning. Have a quick look over the news. I don't think there's much coming out again, sort of through Asia session today. Where are we at? So business confidence right up for the Aussie. So yeah, it hasn't really done a great deal of good. I'm just having a look on the chart. 11 o'clock. No, the market actually sort of didn't like it at all. Moved up 3, 4 points, whatever. Didn't really care too much about that at all. Oh, sorry, that was New Zealand. That's why I didn't care about it. Um, Private capital expenditure down. Okay, well, that probably goes a little bit more in line with the reaction we saw. Regardless of that, we haven't got any other news or data due through Asia session today. Tonight, we got GDP for the US, looking to just come in flat. Not really too much to take with that, and unemployment claims still pretty flat and around that area. So, durable goods, that might be something that could move the needle a little bit. But I think really the market's just sort of waiting for PCE tomorrow to sort of see if that'll give us a bit more direction with the US dollar in the short term. But as I said, I do believe that maybe one more leg down, and then we'll see a little bit of a grind up towards the high 107s. All right, that's it from me.